We must believe that things end, things end at the right time. Things end, things end in due time. This time, it will be my time, yeah. In due time, in my time. I'm so glad that it's my time. See, one day, it's gonna be so perfect and perfected. I won't have to do it by myself. But no, what's up? Good morning, good evening, good night. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to the BIYG podcast. Believe in your growth. I am your host, Stefan. And you know what? I'm gonna just be honest, cause yeah, I woo. I mean, saying that, like, well, no, I feel like being candid and having this authenticity is so important. But like, you don't want to repulse people, you know. But honestly, I do not feel like doing this today. But you know what? I was talking to myself last night, and I feel like I am 3 years behind, and probably more than that. And I kind of hate that. And I mean, I can kind of go into it, but no, I'll do it after. I just feel like I'm late, I'm behind. And I've always been the kind of person who wants to do things with intention. Like if there's a vibe or if there's a mood, I want to go with it. I don't want to force the flow of things. You know, I don't know. We live in a time where people love to just do anything for clicks and views. And you know, I've learned to I'm trying to perfect my speech and the things that I say, you know, because I want to be seen, but I want to be seen for the right reasons. I want to be honored, but I want to be honored because, you know, I've actually worked hard, and there's actually passion, and I guess I don't want to say intentionality, but yeah, just simply put intentionality behind what I'm doing. I don't want my success to be based off of me trying to profit off of someone else's stories or someone else's life. I said this to someone the other day. I am literally my best topic. I know me better than anyone else, and I know my experiences and testimonies better than anyone else. And the thing about it for me, like, if you're not going through anything, and I mean something substantial enough to actually help someone, you know, I don't know. Are you really living? I could care less about a person who's taking trips and going places every other day. If you don't have any meat to your life, if you don't have anything, and I mean, granted, there's nothing wrong with fun. Fun, you know, I was also saying this on Twitter. A life of all work and no fun is no good. You know, we should be able to live and have thrills and exciting moments in our life, but even still, also, you know, there should just be some depth. And so I mean, getting back into, like, let's say feeling like I'm 3 years behind. So one thing I'm heavy on is you have to take accountability, but you also cannot beat yourself down and take responsibility for things that you did not do. But it's like the how do you say? Como dice, I don't know how to say it actually, like if there's a real term for it, but just realistically, there are actions that cause reactions and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously, but with people do things, and now you have to figure out, okay, how do you maneuver because of certain things, or you did something, you made a mistake, and now you have to maneuver and get around it because of the thing you did. And so, I mean, in I guess in synergy with the conversation, like I do feel like I'm behind. And I think one of my major things, like I've said this before, I believe, but one of my major things, genuinely wanting support of other people. Um I hate to say that my heart has broken because I feel like each and every single human being is due that. Um, that's what the point of family is. That's what the point of community is. You know, if I dare be biblical for just a moment, I don't want these diary moments to be too like, holistic, but I don't mind talking about Jesus. I don't. But like when Jesus came back to his hometown and he wanted to do healings and miracles, he could only do so much because the people didn't really believe. They did not believe that he was the Messiah. They did not believe who he said he was or who he presented to be. And so he was very limited in what he could do because there was no support. There was no, faith. And so it's just kind of like that in a lot of our lives. You can only do so much, especially with the people you have. And I think if you relate that to today, you know, it's gonna be hard to advance without, let's say this, because people don't really believe in actually putting their all into something until they see the full manifestation of it, which is not faith. There's no faith required in that. There's no actual genuine I believe in myself required in that. Now, granted, there is no one way to go about doing anything. I think God gives every person a specific plan and strategy for their life. But one thing that I do not believe is trying to mimic someone else's blueprint, because to me, that just feels like spiritual suicide. It feels like you're saying to God, I don't trust you with my life, and I don't trust that you know what you're doing with me. So let me do what you gave someone else. And that way I can replicate what success they have. And so I could be wrong with that, but I never wanted that for me. But not me saying but period. No, I just never wanted that for me. And the thing is, I don't know everything. I have literally no idea. I am a small speck in the larger scheme of things, and probably not even a speck. I don't even know how God really views me or whatever. But I mean, it does matter how I view myself. And you know, I wish that there is no regrets, because now what can we do today? But I do wish that I would have just continued. When I look back over my life and all the things that have transpired, there's still only, I guess, one quote unquote regret that I have. And you know, it would be that I did not listen to anyone. And I know what I say by that and what I mean by that is not to ignore wisdom, not to ignore people who are actually in tune with God. I think something I saw on Twitter the other day, someone said, I don't listen to none of my family members because none of them are rich. And to me, that's like a 50-50 thing. I agree with it. I think logically, emotionally, and spiritually. But then I also disagree with it in the same aspect, because people don't have to have certain things for them to be able to obtain wisdom and be able to possess knowledge and actually happiness and peace and joy, for that to be fruitful in their life. I think we want to make synonymous certain tangible things with stuff that it don't even it's not in the same region half of the time. Now granted, things can add additional happiness to a person's life, but that doesn't mean that person is truly successful. There are a lot of people who aim and go for things and they're not successful. And I'm just trying to be more honest with me about it. I think at the core of it all, everybody wants money, and I don't think it's a demonic thing to want money. I think it gets demonic when you start wanting to do anything for money. But wanting money is not bad, because we need money. I think that the thing about it is just find what's valuable in you and put it out there, because there is a scripture that says a man's gift will make room for him. And so, who knows how long that would take, but if you take what you see and you deem to be good in you, now, and a lot of times that may vary, but there's so many people with so many gifts, skills, talents, and abilities, blessings, and opportunities. It's like there's something that you can do and it be profitable, it be marketable, and it be, something worth giving to the earth. And I mean, though you may be like Jesus when he went back to his hometown, and or some of you may have never even left, but you may be like Jesus in that moment and you don't have a lot of people that believe in you, or you may have little to none. But the thing is, sometimes you may have to move, or you may just be there, and it's not saying you're stuck. I see, sometimes you just gotta know, is it my time to go or is it my time to stay? I think people oftentimes, the family dynamic has been so torn apart that no one wants to stay together anymore. But then people want to complain about how no one comes back home. I mean, sometimes the home was never supposed to be divided. It was never supposed to be divided. If people aren't married and people aren't in these fruitful relationships and having their own children, the home was never designed and meant to be divided, because we're sharper together, we're better together. And so, the fact, I think, and it's more relevant and prevalent in, is this the West? I think Western culture, for us to up and abandon, or even, be pushed out of the nest. And it's not even pushed out so that you can fly. It's just pushed out so people can have their selfish lives, if we be honest about it. Because you can fly amongst the tribe, like geese and like all the birds, they fly south. You can fly and still be with your people. That doesn't stop you from flying. That doesn't stop you from knowing how to do your own thing, especially when the righteous person has set up a foundation and a future for their kin, so that way they can do what God has called them to do without struggle and delay. Now, I think there's a main picture that we have. There's a few instances that we know of when God calls people away from the family. One is when they get married, and another is when your family is not doing the things of God. And so I don't know of any other instances, but I know those two, because Abraham was called away from his father. His father did idol making and stuff like that. And so I know this is getting like real real biblical, but I mean, no, it's just a part of my feelings today, and may God take me where he needs me, because I really had no desire to get on. Well, no desire to speak, but I want to get past that, because I don't know, I'm tired of having the same, you can't expect something different when you're continually doing the same thing. But anyway, no, yeah, Abram had to get away from his father, who was an idol worshiper and idol maker. And then also, it is also understood that when a son or a daughter, a male or a female gets married, they are to separate from their family. And so that way, honestly, a new family can begin. And though you're still blood, or whatever the case might be, there's still that connection. There just needs to be a newness to that relationship. And so I don't know. That's another conversation, and I just maybe I really honestly didn't need to go there, but I want to go back to wanting to do more. And I guess, like, I was even logging on to YouTube today, and a part of me is like, okay, I don't want to get number obsessed. And I mean, I've been like that for a little while. Like, okay, and like I said, I'm trying to perfect my speech. Numbers matter in the sense of business, in the sense of you realizing, okay, there is traction, or there's some kind of growth here. But at the end of the day, you cannot connect your value to whether or not people are flocking to it. As I've been watching Monique, and the more and more I listen to her speak, I just adore her, and I think she should be honored. I mean, far beyond a lot of people that we are uplifting today. And I mean, I'm not talking about her. I don't know, her lifestyles or what she's doing behind closed doors, but the things that I see and the things that she talks about, like, she was at one point painted out to be this bitter black woman, but that's what people do a lot of times with people that tell the truth. They want to first call them bitter, and then they never realize or recognize that person as a valuable treasure until that person is dead and gone. And to me, that I know for a fact that is not going to happen with me. I'm going to be able to speak the truth, and it is going to be taken into consideration, and not just considered but believed. And I'm going to be celebrated because of my integrity and my desire to stand on something and actually want to see a better future for my life, and not just my life, but those surrounding me, those involving me, those who I may never even meet, you know. But I respect the moments that we have been coming into where people are just speaking up. And I always hate that people decide to hide and never really address the pain, or never really address certain situations. That'll never make sense to me. You live one life. Why are you gonna let the bad guy get away? Now, granted, you have to know sometimes when to hold them and when to fold them, when to walk away and when to run. But at the end of the day, if someone does something to you, and it comes up, especially after talking to God, I'm gonna let it be known. I'm gonna let it be known in a way, not trying to drag these people, but if something is happening, speak up. Speak up. I don't know if I mentioned this, but there's been so many things that have happened to me, and I'm kind of glad that I've always told people, or some adult was able to witness it when it happened, and I never had to say anything. But there was one moment when I was in high school. I think I told this story already, but I was in high school, and I can't remember what was happening or what the conversation was, but this guy threatened to shoot me. And so, I mean, stupid enough, he said it in front of other students, but they probably wouldn't have said anything. So what did I have to do? Now, granted, I don't believe that he was serious, but when it comes to stuff like that, from a very young age, I knew that I had a calling on my life, and there is a purpose for my life. I know some people don't believe in purpose. They don't even really believe in destiny. Purpose and destiny are two different things. The decisions that you make form your destiny, but your purpose will forever be the same. But no, so as soon as the teacher got back to the classroom, I was like, I told her, because that's just something you don't play with. That's something you do not play with. I will never play with my life. I will never play with my my sexuality. If I feel uncomfortable in that manner, like if someone touches me inappropriately or whatever the case might be, I'm saying something. I'm saying something. And I hate how people try to make it seem like it doesn't happen as often to men that you know of, because men feel like they can't say anything, but so do women. So it's not just a sex thing. But I can tell you for a fact, a lot of men are told they need to swallow it, but so are women. So it's a hard situation all around, because there are women who face they face abuse all the time, and some women are learning from their mothers, and some men are learning from their fathers. You need to suck it up. And then also some men are learning from their mothers that boys don't cry and all this other stuff. I mean, and it's a mess all around, because the enemy is having fun, and we're just sitting here like, don't you say nothing. Don't you say nothing. The devil is a lie. I'm telling God, and then I'm also telling the authorities, because the thing about it is, God wants to know. If God can see these things, but God, I believe, wants to be involved, right? And so I don't know. That's just my belief on it. I'm telling I'ma be a snitch. I'ma be a snitch. Trust me. Ain't nobody getting away with nothing. So if anyway, ain't nobody getting away with nothing. And to me, that same sentiment, watching Monique and watching Cat Williams, even though these people don't really have the best representation, but then there was another person that I can't think of, but watching these people tell their truth, it didn't inspire or motivate me because I've been doing it for years and I'm going to continuously do it. I've been known to do it since I was young, and that's not going to change. But it makes me feel good to know that there are people like me, that there are kindred spirits like me, and they are in high places, because the thing about it is, who God bless, no man can curse. And I just feel like, I got to go forward with what I got. With what I have, I got to go forward, and no matter who wants to be there, no matter who actually believes in me, because the thing is, like I was saying in the last diary entry, a lot of people can say things, and I was referencing, saying they miss you and stuff like that, say they love you. But in this case, I'm talking about, oh, I support you, I see what you're doing. A lot of people can say those things, but the support is more than your verbal stamp of approval or whatever, however, I don't know, important you think you are. Your words can do nothing unless you're telling business partners and unless you're telling people of stature, I have this nephew, I have my son, I have a brother, I have a friend that knows how to do X, Y, and Z, and that's the thing. Like, that is the only time, your what you say in regards to supporting someone matters, because that's actual support. When it comes to verbal agreement, I mean, you giving a compliment is a compliment. That's not support. Or even like I told y'all before, I think I told y'all, if not, I sent someone a very long message because I felt like I haven't been honest in a very long time. But I do think I mentioned this in a recent podcast show or whatever, but I've had maybe like 5 to 10 plus family members acknowledge that they have seen my podcast, but they never shared them. They never liked, they never commented. But when they saw me in my face, I feel like, honestly, that was the devil trying to taunt me, honestly. And God allowed it to happen. I'm not mad at God about it. I'm not mad at all. It's just like, okay. And I think I kind of took the bait. Maybe I don't feel like I stopped doing it because people weren't supporting me. It just kind of felt like God was really taking me away from it, because if people wanted to call me lazy, or people wanted to say that I, was not a hard worker, and some people will be like, well, why wouldn't God prove them wrong? I don't know. And it's not my job to take up vengeance. You stress yourself out. You worry yourself too much trying to do that. But I do know God took me through a moment in a season. I mentioned it in the last diary entry. There was a moment where I wasn't doing anything. And that moment was so foreign to me. Like, growing up, I was always writing a poem, drawing a fashion design, doing something and putting it on the internet. While I was watching everyone and everyone and their mother do nothing, I was always doing something. And that's not a stretch. Literally, I grew up having nobody to aspire to be like, or be inspired by. And, even when I asked for help, that was non-existent for a child, which is crazy. And, I think, but it's a good thing that happened, because I'm influenced by that. I want, and maybe I hope that it doesn't get toxic, but if I ever see a kid, or I ever see someone who really wants to do something, I just pray that God gives me the resources, or even the obedience to try and at least help them, because some people you can't help. Some people, I've never seen this myself, but apparently God will tell you not to help someone. I've never seen it. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I know if I have it in me, I want to help a person. I really genuinely do. But I don't want my hurt to get in the way of God doing whatever he's going to do in a person's life. So it's very weird, I guess trusting that God told so many people, don't help him, don't help him, don't help him. But it's a plausible case. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if so many people would have helped me growing up, then everything that I know now, I wouldn't know. And every experience I had, I wouldn't have had. And I wouldn't have grown closer to God. Probably. It's not 100% thing. Why? Because I can't go back into the future and make I can't go back into the past and make new decisions. So we're stuck here and we're going forward. And that's okay. That's okay. But, it's just like, you always wonder, okay, God, so what's the plan and where are you taking me? And really, genuinely, I just want to be on board for that. I don't want to stress myself out, and that's why I don't want to overdo it. Like, regardless, trying to take vengeance up for myself, trying to prove to people, well, I'm going to do this because you said I couldn't. I'm going to be this because you didn't believe in me. No, absolutely not. I know for a fact, because it was said that I wouldn't be able to do it. Like Nehemiah, I will be able to become a world-renowned artist, singer, writer, dancer, entertainer, also a philanthropist, therapist, and friend, a wealthy individual, prosperous in all my endeavors. And then I'm going to ask God to grant me the success to be able to accomplish all of my dreams, desires, and let it be his will for my life. Because Nehemiah, to me, that set the perfect example of you operating out of your authority. When someone says you can't, you need to be proclaiming the opposite, knowing that you can, but then realizing where your power comes from, realizing that you are not the author and the creator and the finisher of your life, knowing that there is a plan for you. And I believe every desire that is given to us, is something that's supposed to be manifested into reality. Now, some people, they get tainted and the vision gets warped or whatever. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But the things that I've seen, I can only imagine them helping people, not taking anything away. I don't want to seduce people into nothing. I don't want to abuse people. I don't want to sell drugs. I don't have a desire for none of that. Everything that God has given me, it looks to be good. It looks to be good. And I'm gonna see it regardless. But no, I don't see me being that kind of person that wants to take revenge on people and do things spitefully. I don't want to get up here every day and rant and rave and try to disrespect people or try to be shady and belligerent and whatever other negative thing. I want to get up here and possibly, hopefully, heal, because this can be a therapeutic thing. But I also, in my healing or in whatever I'm doing, I'm wanting to help people, and I'm wanting it to be kind of this space and this place where it's like, okay, I'm not alone. Maybe he's not articulating it the best way, but I can see where he's coming from because I've been there too. Or, I never really know how to fully express these things, but I just hope that whoever hears it, they have enough grace in their heart and they have enough of God to just really see what is being put out there. And I can say that my intentions aren't to hurt anyone or my intentions aren't negative, but God knows my heart. God knows if I'm doing this for the wrong reasons. And so, I can only hope that, this is me aspiring to get to the place that God has for me, because like I mentioned in the last diary entry, there was a video that I saw and the woman said, you can be out of place, and we have that knowledge apparently because of Noah, no, not Noah, Jonah. Jonah was told to go to a place and he went the complete opposite direction. And so, the storm was raging and they threw him overboard and he ended up in the mouth of a fish. And so apparently he was in the wrong place. And so there needed to be a recourse, there needed to be a change of direction. And so God intervened and we have the chain of events that occurred. And so to me, I do believe even in you being out of place, God can make it work for your good and God can make it work for the good. And so, I can say I do feel like I'm out of place and I feel like God is using the pain, and the same with Jonah, God was using the storm and then, the fish being swallowed up to bring him back to where he was supposed to be or where God wanted him to be. And so, I mean, I don't know, that's why it's just kind of like for me, you got to trust God, trust the process, go with the flow of it. I mean, one thing about it, it's a faith thing. It's a faith thing. I can never say I have verbally heard the voice of God, but I do feel as if though I've heard it in my spirit, but that's just for me. That's my personal walk that, it is what it is. I don't want to be one of those people that don't have enough faith to think that God can still speak today, because if God spoke to all of them in the Bible, why can God not speak to us? Yes, we have like the old I forget how to call them. The Israelites, they had the Torah, they had the tablets, they had the 10 commandments. So yes, they still had that, but there was still God's voice speaking and then Jesus speaking. Like I don't know. God still speaks. God still speaks. God is not, if we say God is not a dead thing, then why do we treat God like he's dead? I don't know. I don't know. People too scary for me. It's like either you gonna go all the way or you not. And I think that's the difference. People want to be lukewarm and I don't have time for that. Either you gonna fully believe and you gonna look crazy or you just not. And some people, they don't want to look crazy. I mean, I don't want to look crazy either, but at some point when you realize there is a significant calling on your life, looking crazy is inevitable. And it's not the kind of crazy that, oh, it made sense. No, this is the crazy that's like, I don't know. I can look at my life and I know for a fact. Well, okay, I don't know for a fact actually, but I can say with the amount of things that I can do, my life should be going in a whole different direction. I could break down so many little things, but the fact that I am where I am, it just kind of lets me know this is the perfect situation for a miracle to transpire. And some people don't want to, they don't want to be hoping and waiting and praying for a miracle. Listen, I'm not hoping and praying and waiting for a miracle. I'm just where I need to be. I mean, you don't go through the things that I've gone through and then say there is no God. I think you're stupid. And I mean, hey, it is what it is, right? This is kind of like in my diary entry, the point where I'm encouraging myself in the Lord. Because this is where you have to remember the things that God has brought you through. I made a video like 3 years ago talking about how the enemy wants us to forget those things. But I have been changed and rearranged, and there's still things that are being purified, but it's like, girl, I wouldn't go back for anything. I would not go back for anything. And it gets hard because now when you're looking at reality and your faith and your reality is just kind of not blending, it's like you're halted between two opinions. And it can get stressful. But I think that's when it comes to every day, your intent and your decision being, okay, well, I'm still going to believe in God. It just is what it is. And I don't think enough people have the balls, I'll just say it like that, lack of better words, the balls to be like, well, if I die here, I die here. But I know in my heart, and I speak and declare out of my mouth that I don't, surely I don't die here. Matter of fact, I find life here. That's the thing. You got to know something bubbling in your spirit, and it's sitting on your heart. That's sitting on my heart. I know for a fact that just because this was a moment that I ended up coming to, like Joseph being locked up in a jail cell, and then not only did he use his gift and it looked as if though it didn't work for him, he interpreted two men's dream, and not only did they come to pass, but he one of the men, he said, remember me and tell them about me when you get out of here. And that it didn't, I think, 3 years passed, and then it was the right moment. So only God knows why he kept him in there. Maybe to humble him. Maybe it was just the right season at the right time. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes you gonna feel like you in a jail cell. I mean, it just is what it is. But at the end of the day, when it is time, it is time. I was talking about the other diary entry about don't go back to the people that tried to kill you. It wouldn't have made sense for Joseph to try to run away from Potiphar and that enslavement and being enslaved back to people that wanted him dead anyway. Where would he have gone if he had ran? He probably would have died in the desert, maybe, I don't know. But his brothers probably, at that time, they probably still had the resentment and the hate in his heart. He couldn't have went back home because they'd have tried to kill him again, or either the father would have had the sons killed, or you just never know. So it's kind of like God just, in my opinion, just made it all work out. I don't know. Maybe Joseph opening his mouth was a part of the whole moment, because it created a need for a miracle, right? And it just seemed as if though miracles just kept happening, and then look, the dream just ends up becoming reality. So I know this probably has not been the best diary entry, because what I kind of want to focus on with these entries or whatever is just like how I'm feeling and stuff like that. And some people may not really be too interested in that. But I mean, hey, I'm a black man. I think it's important that first and foremost, as a man, that I know how to express myself, and I know how to do it with tact and respectfully and verbally and not physically. And then as a black individual, with suppression trying to run through my veins and trying to have a way in my life, fear, ruin, and or oppression, trying to have residence in my life, I have to take authority. And so, this is the space for that for me. And I hope to create that space for other people, for people to be able to tell their sides of the story and to feel heard, because to me, it's not about if. Now, granted, I would love for millions of people to sit back and listen to my sultry voice, and me just really just being me and not trying to be messy, not trying to talk about the latest news and the gossip that's going on in the world, whether it be gospel, whether it be hip hop or whatever. Gossip is still gossip. I just don't want to be that kind of person. I think there's some good examples that we can bring up. Like I said, the Monique thing, how people try to paint her out to be bitter. But in the end, ain't God a good God when the truth is told? To me, it don't matter whether or not the person is a heathen or a believer in Christ. The truth is the truth, and it shall prevail. When a person is being honest, I believe that thing will come forward and it will deliver that person. God is a God of justice. That's all I'm gonna say. But and so I don't know, when you fight for justice, when you fight for what's right, you're bound to win. You are bound to win. I don't care how long it takes. That thing is surely, swiftly, speedily gonna come through. And so I don't know, that's just something that I stand on. But back to, you know, being a black male and then a feminine, you know, some I talk to God about that sometimes because I don't know. I don't portray myself to be effeminate. I don't do that. I am a man. I like being a man. I am the of the male. I don't know how you would classify that, but I am a male, so I do have what classifies as a penis and two testicles. Um, male genitalia and organs, whatever that's supposed to. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, so I don't know. But I'm not someone out here trying to portray myself as a woman when I'm a man. But I do have feminine tendencies. So, there is a Bible verse that says the effeminate, it alludes, or I think because there's parts that come before it. But the effeminate will not inherit the kingdom of God. And so that is something that I walk with God on because, I don't feel like this is me faking a personality. My voice is a little higher. I mean, maybe I could talk like, I don't know. That just feels like I'm forcing it. I don't know. Sometimes I sit with my legs crossed. I don't feel like that should be a feminine thing. I feel like that's a sitting posture. I mean, sometimes I walk with a sachet. I don't know. Maybe that's because I was watching America's Next Top Model growing up, or maybe that's just the way I walk. I don't know. I mean, it just is what it is, and I'm not going to hate myself. I didn't hate myself when I was masturbating and all that other stuff, and so I'm not gonna hate myself when I'm loving God and when I'm trying to find God. It's just not what's gonna happen. I'm gonna let God do what God wants to do in my life, and I'm gonna be okay with it. However the process looks, God said to Paul, my grace is sufficient. Paul prayed 3 times for that thorn to be taken from him, and God was just basically like, no, I got your back. I want you to choose to love me. My grace will be there with you. When there will be a way of escape for everything that tries to come up in your life. And so, I don't know. I don't know how me having some feminine traits could possibly be a thorn, but I mean, if it is, the grace of the Lord be with me, and God will, I guess, purify that. I don't know. It's one of those innocent things that it's like, I'm not trying to hurt nobody, and I'm definitely not trying to hurt myself. Definitely not trying to hate myself or just be overly critical, because like Moses had a stutter, and so apparently that was a thorn for Moses, and God was just kind of like, I gave you that, so how dare you feel this way about yourself when I allowed you to you know what I'm saying? And so I don't know. I mean, some people will try to take that and say, well, God gave me homosexuality. I don't know. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I know what God wants for me, and I want to live the way God said is the way to live. And I mean, hey, I'm not here to argue with nobody. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I love Jesus. And for me, I would rather be single than to go after what my heart wants, because our hearts are misleading. I don't know if marriage is for me. I love marriage. I love to see in it. Now, some people may not like this, but I'm sorry. I love seeing Black marriages work out, and I love seeing Black families stay together. I love families in general. At this point, I have grown very fond of the family dynamic and understanding how God wants to really mend that. And because in the West, it really has been deteriorating. But, I mean, yeah, I don't know. This is just the space. Like I said, this is the space for me to express myself. And hopefully, well, let's say this. I believe there will be more people to come along who want to have the space to express themselves, whether it be in the comments, whether it be with me as a featured guest or whatever, because to me, everyone has a story, everyone has a testimony, and it's not just these people that have these platforms, or they have millions of followers, 100,000 followers, that should be able to say something, should be able to have a seat at the table. No, everyone has a significant part to play in the, I don't know how to say that, but I do think everyone has some significance. And I kind of want to create a space for the small person, for the person who isn't seen, and get them seen, get them heard. And I don't know, we've gotten, well, maybe that's not a conversation, but I do believe we've gotten so far away from, how do you say it, reality. Like, I don't know, I don't aspire to be like none of the people that we see and that we put up on these pedestals. Granted, I want to be successful in art. I want to be a successful friend. I want to be a successful business person. I want to be a successful student and teacher. I want to be a successful Christian. I want to be a success in every aspect of my life. But I want that because that's what I want for me, not because the world tells me what I should want. I don't, fitness matters, but I don't care about that. I don't care about overly exercising and then trying to use one verse in the Bible, the body is the temple, to justify, going to the gym every day and lifting weights. You literally, all you need to do is go outside and walk for like 15 to 30 minutes. That should be honestly good enough. If you really were concerned about being healthy, you would get up and you would walk. You would walk. Literally, water, when it sits still for too long, it begins to get stale or whatever. It gets this stench, right? And our body is, what is it, 70% water? It's the same way. When you sit there, you deteriorate. There's a stench. So just get up and move. That's really all that's required. There is a standard to beauty, but it's not the standard that the world wants to justify and lead people down the path of. Cause I'm gonna be honest, and it's gonna be shady, but some of y'all don't look good no way with the body. You go and get the body, but the face is still a hit. Like, what? And then you go and get the body, and the body look a mess. Like, you got all these bumps on your girl. I'm sorry, I know that's shady, but I just I mean, it just look a mess though. Like, how you go and do all this and you say it's for you, but we know it's not for you. Some people do go to the gym for themselves because they actually they have a love for it. Everybody doesn't have the same passion, but I think my problem comes in when people start picking up passions of another person because they saw another person doing it. So they reject the plan for their life because they're easily persuaded and easily influenced by other people's decisions. That's silly to me. I've never been like that. If you want to do something, do it for you, but I can tell you, most people are not doing it for themselves. We often, it's very easy for us to get influenced by the pressures of society. Sadly, it is. I never thought of myself to be a person like that, but it can be very easy in the most subtle ways to do things for other people. There's a difference between wanting to add value to the nation and to society versus you just wanting to be liked. And granted, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be liked. I want to be liked. When people like you, people want to buy what you're selling. People want to work with you. People want to cooperate with you, collaborate with you. People want to help you. People want to do so much for you. People want to be your friend when they like you. Being liked is not the problem. But when it becomes your being because you want to be liked, because you want to be worshiped, you want to be praised, you want to be noticed, like that is a problem, and I notice myself. I wake up and I notice every good thing about me, and I try my best every day. That's why I will never be upset. I will never be upset. I said this a while ago. If I die today, I'm satisfied. When they say I'm bitter, just know that they lied. I wrote that in a song actually. And I was listening to my songs last night, and they was bopping actually. I low key may try to play it. It's the it's like an unreleased situation, but like I said, I'm a resourceful person. So even if I just put my songs up on YouTube, if people care about me enough and people like me enough, they will go to my YouTube, even though they may not be able to find it on Spotify, and they will run it up. Like, that's what happens when people like you. They don't care about the convenience. They make the time and the effort to support you, to actually be involved in what you got going on. And so that's why it's important to be liked. But there comes a fine line between wanting to be liked and needing to be liked. I don't need to be liked. I want to be liked, regardless whether people like me or not. I'm a very powerful entity. God has blessed me substantially. Like, the gifts and the abilities, talents and skills and blessings that I possess, no man can I think can compete with. And that's not being arrogant. That is honestly worshiping God, with the simple fact that you gave me a gift that no other person has. Now, granted, there are going to be other people who are better than me, but there will be plenty of people who are not. And why is that? That is just the way you made it. That is just the way God designed it to be. But even though that may be the case, it is what it is. I'm going to fit in where I fit in. There's 8 billion people on the planet. There's no reason why I can't have my sphere of influence, and every other person have their sphere of influence. I'm not trying to have a monopoly on I guess viewership or anything like that. I just want the portion of the earth which God has called me to. That's it. I don't need everyone to like me, just the people that I'm meant to have a significant impact on. The people that I'm meant to lead to Christ. That's what I want. That's what I want. God, well, that I was about to go into my private stuff. but I mean, yeah, it's just, I believe so much in what God has given me that I've willingly put my life on the line for it. Why? Because I would rather live my life using the things God gave me than to sit and have it on halt just for my sanity and my sake. I mean, I have begun seeing, and this probably be the last thing I say, maybe like 8 minutes. I have begun seeing so much of the benefits of prayer, and it's like the more I pray, the more I see instantly, the small things coming, and it only fuels my faith to realize and hope the bigger things are actually on their way as well. And one thing I was saying, I'll give you this one. The other day, I went into a deep prayer. I love when I have those kinds of prayers, because it's just like my spirit transcends into another realm, and it's like I couldn't stop if I wanted to, right? But it's kind of like that, but it's kind of not like that. Like, I can stop, but it's just like there is a flow. There is just something that just starts pouring out of my heart, and I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I began asking God to like when Peter was being I wouldn't say accused, but they were coming up to Peter and asking him if he knew the Nazarite and if he was he was a believer. And Peter was like, no, but someone said to him, and it's this moment specifically, someone said to him, but you sound like one of them. I asked God, I said, God, let that be, something someone has to, that be synonymous with me, that people can say, you sound like one of them, and I prayed and I asked God for that. And it was not even 24 hours that I'm having a conversation with someone. And now, granted, I didn't like the way they said it, but to each their own. I knew it was God when it happened. Well, after the fact that it happened, honestly, to be honest, because God brought it back to my mind, and I was like, oh snap. I was like, oh snap. But this, apparently some of the terminology that I was using, this person For some reason, some way, somehow, it made them believe. They asked, "Were you religious growing up? Like, did you grow up religious?" And so I had a few questions when that, like, what do you mean grew up religious? I never grew up religious, and so let me explain this for people. Um, Loving Jesus and being a Christian is not the same thing as being religious. To me, and I could be wrong, everyone is religious, if I be honest. There's a way you can do things religiously, like people brushing their teeth every day. That's religious, in my opinion. People praying 5 times a day at the same time. That's religious. It's like these practices that you do that it's like, I don't know, that they're just kind of habitual. They're not spirit led, if I say that, you know. And I mean, if God brings you to pray 5 times a day, then that's you, right? But I've never lived religiously. I've lived to have a relationship with God. And I was even saying this, like, I don't even, and though I should be ashamed to say this, but I'm not. I don't even pray every day now. I try to. I really genuinely do. I try to pray as much as I can. You know, like I said the other day, pray every day when you get up and pray every night before you go to sleep. I try to, but I don't even do that sometimes, you know? And so to me, there's never been really been anything religious about my life. Maybe besides the fact of taking communion every fifth Sunday, but I haven't done that in a very long time. But you know, did I grow up religious? No. If this person would have asked me if I believed in Jesus, I would have said yes. But I was really thinking about that thing. Did I grow up religious? I don't think so. I don't think so. Um, but either way, the point of that was I literally asked God to let that be the case with me. And then moments later, but see, I don't know. It's like this is the second time that that particular person has I don't know, when I prayed something and I come around this group of people, it's like God is using that person for some reason to point out certain things. So or I don't, God is allowing. So I don't know what's happening, because I want to bring this up. God told through Jeremiah to tell the children of Israel to not listen to those prophets, because you're urging them to have these dreams. And so it's really, I do believe that you can be putting out such an energy and you can be putting out such a lust for things that there's a wave that goes out into the atmosphere, and anyone who could potentially be a prophet or has the gift of prophecy, and maybe they know it, maybe they don't, can pick up on it and speak on it. Or even something, if you understand what I'm saying, relating to it, because this is literally the second instance that this person, something that I was praying about, they were able to kind of like pinpoint on. I'll give you another instance, you know, and I think I talked about this before, where I was praying to God about being on TV and stuff like that. And the only reason I was doing that was because it was said to me when I was younger that I should have my own TV show. And I mean, this is only the beginning, you know, this is a very small portion of what God wants to do. But as I prayed about that, you know, the very next few, I think, hours, I was having a conversation with a group of people, and then this person just out of nowhere blurts out, "You need your own TV show." And I'm like, "Oh," I said, "Oh." And so, you know, I'm not a kind of person that's like, "God, you got to keep confirming it." I think at some point you just got to trust God, you know, but you also got to ask God, was that you? Because we'll hear anything and take it, you know, and just run with it. But at this point, I've understood the value of getting God involved and just letting God, you know, letting God know that He is the author of my life. God, Jesus is Lord, you know, and that means a lot. That means a lot. It's not just saying, oh, Jesus is Lord. No, let God be Lord. Let Jesus be Lord over your life. The dictator, the ruler, the leader of your life. Let him do that. You know, if you believe something is for you, surrender it to God. And if that thing come back, then it is for you. You know? And I mean, I'm kind of doing that now. It's hard, but I'm trying to do that now. Like, you know, everything that I pray for, I'm just letting it go. I'm just letting it go. And I'm like, God, I give it to you. You know, whatever happens, even now, I'm giving it to you. You know, wherever my life goes, I'm giving it to you. That doesn't mean that I'm not actively participating in it. But at this point, like, God, I'm just going to give it to you, because if you are my provider, then you have to rescue me. You have to save me. You have to take care of me. And no, I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. But I'm waiting. I'm waiting on you to give me the instructions. I'm waiting. You know, you gave me so many, like I said earlier, gift, talent, skills, and abilities. I would be dumb to sit here and not do anything, not write a poem, not sing a song, not get up here and speak to people, millions of people. I would be crazy to not do that. You know, I would be lazy to not do that. That's the real laziness. I think people not wanting to use their gifts, but willing and readily able to use these things that they went and learned. To me, that's lazy. And I know some people may argue with me about that, but it takes nothing to sit at a computer and punch in numbers like you do every day, something that you're doing for a paycheck. It takes nothing to do that. It takes nothing to stand behind a counter and make someone a sandwich. It takes nothing to do that. I invested more time trying to learn what, you know, and be successful in someone else's business rather than being successful for the kingdom of God. That kind of angers me a little bit, you know. It takes nothing to do that. It takes no faith. It takes no energy, because there can be no growth in a lot of these positions. It don't matter. Like, yeah, people can apply themselves and they be like, I worked this amount of time, I deserve a raise. But are you actually growing? Are you actually satisfied? Like, but I don't know. That's probably a whole nother conversation that I really am maybe not fit to have. But I don't know, you know, to me, with all of the jobs that I've done, none of them actually took any real effort. None of them actually took any real courage. None of them actually required any real energy or any good thing. It was just my body doing something. It was just my body doing something. But with me trying to make songs, with me writing poetry, with me doing things that God gifted me to do, it requires me. Now, granted, it's easy. It's easy. It's easy because I'm gifted in those areas. I can make a hook, a chorus on a song real quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's not hard for me to do that. And I thank God for that, because, you know, I see people who struggle to do it all the time. But for some reason, they have a passion, but they just don't have the gift. And that's another conversation, you know, trying to do something you're not gifted in. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. But then people go to school. I would never. I just recently wrote a poem, and at the end of it, I mentioned Edgar Allan Poe, because I told this story before. In a Reddit subreddit, I was posting my poetry, and there was this random person who came with a very sharp criticism. It wasn't even constructive, because poetry is an art that is supposed to express the feelings of people. And so it is not something that has a structure to it. People want it to have structure, but poetry does not have structure. All writing, you know, it's weird how we try to take something and give it these confinements when in reality it's just a writing. It's a writing. Just write. Express yourself. That's the expression. And so I put a poem up there, and lo and behold, this sharp critique was basically saying, you're not Edgar Allan Poe, so you should not be writing like this. But I thank you for seeing in me something I already knew, because you don't compare another person to another person unless they're actually doing something valuable and something that is actually impactful. In my opinion, I don't know. I would never, I don't know. That's just me. Like, I never do that to somebody. It just don't make sense as a critique. Unless you saw greatness in that person, you don't bring up a great individual, comparing them to I'm not going to call myself a nobody, but we get what I'm saying. You just don't do that. It doesn't make sense. If anything, that devalues the work of Edgar Allan Poe. And it lifts me up to his standard. And so, I'll never understand paying someone for a gift that God gives. You understand? And then I don't know. That's a weird area for me. But all I'm gonna say is, I do feel like, well, okay, I felt like I was not 3 hours, 3 years behind. But even after having all of this conversation, I feel peace. I feel some peace. I don't think it's a momentary peace. I think being able to talk about this stuff and being able to verbalize my feelings, like I said, as a Black man, is very important, not resorting as a man, because, they say men are aggressive and all this other stuff, not resorting to physical means. If you box, that's fine. If you cook, that's fine. If you build, that's fine. If you write, that's fine. But one doesn't make you more manly than the other. David played instruments. He was a king, and he slept with many women. None of that made him a man. I don't know what really constitutes a man in the eyes of God, but first and foremost, I'm a male. I have male genitalia, so that will never change. I'm trying to love God the best way I possibly can. I think that makes me a man. I'm trying to treat people good. I think that makes me a man. I think that is what transcends a person from being a young X, Y, and Z into a mature adult, i.e. man or woman. Someone who is taking the next steps of their life and actually exponentially growing. And it's like your age is resembling the decisions, and maybe your wisdom is, you know what I'm saying? Like, this stuff is revealing, but I don't know. I will say God is answering prayers. I love the fact that I'm coming to this place that I can pray and see my prayers be answered, feel my prayers be answered, witness my prayers be answered. I love that for me. But yeah, I got a lot of time to make up, and I think it's going to be an acceleration. I just got to make sure I keep my eye on the prize and keep God involved, because everything else is a distraction. Like I mentioned the other day, with people I don't really vibe with texting me and it throwing me all off. That's a sign. That's a sign that those people are not meant for me in this season, or maybe for a little while, for a great while. But it's a sign when you start to lose the zeal for everything God is placing in your heart because of one text. I don't think that's bitterness. I just think you got to know when some people, God is like, I don't want you around them. I don't want them. Don't answer that. Don't respond to that. Don't, turn your phone off. Because I want to have you for a moment. Everybody else has had you, your whole life. It's time for me to do what I said I was going to do. So give me all of your attention. And I mean, one thing about it, I saw a video that said that grown man is not your child anymore. Yes, he's still your son, but he doesn't owe you anything. You got to make room for your adult children, your adult, seed, to answer to God and follow the purpose and the pursuit that is designed for their life. I think it is a dangerous position on is to be a parent. That's why if you're not having sex with intention, you need to stop, because when you create these children, you're creating them in order to give them back to God so that they can live out the purpose for their life, not so you can dictate and rule and manipulate them into being who you want them to be. It's a dangerous situation doing things outside of the will of God. I'll say that honestly, because there's so many what quote unquote risk and reward. Children are rewards, but they also are very risky business if you do not involve God in the middle of that. It's a very risky business to be having sex out of wedlock. It's a very risky business to be marrying the wrong person. The wrong person can kill you. You already got enough danger out here in the world with people, running around chopping people's hands off and stabbing people over money and stuff. I mean, I don't know. And sometimes not even, it ain't got nothing to do with nothing. They just want to hurt people. So why you want to be married to somebody that, girl, I don't know, and it's not just limited to those two things. Like it pays to have God involved, in my opinion. And that's for me. That is something for me. If don't nobody else need that, it pays to keep God involved. And so that is gonna wrap up this diary entry. Because we're gonna go from 3 years behind to 3 decades ahead. It's I don't know, there's so much peace now. I love that. I feel good. I feel like I needed this moment. I needed this moment. But remember to stay positive. Keep that with you. Spread it wherever you go. My name is Stefan. If you didn't know, I think yesterday I said blue. But yeah, love yourself and love others. I am out of here. Bye.